Hey there and welcome to my show. I'm Vite and today we'll talk about a small indie game called Never Blink. It's a hack and slash roguelike game started development by Indie Omega Studios in 2017. It was later released in 2018. Indie Omega Studios is at the making of this video only one man by the name of Alan Antich from Barcelona. So let's start with the story in this game. The story is nothing special, but it's not bad either. In short, there's two parallel dimensions, hell and our world. You were rescued when your parents died in a house fire, and your mother was pregnant with you. You don't get any friends, so you decide to run from home. And here's where the game starts. There's no more story, but there doesn't have to be. It's a game you're supposed to play over and over again. This game has a lot of potential, but there's a few things that could have been made a little better. I'm not saying the game is bad. I actually really enjoyed the game. So today we'll talk about both the good and the not so good things. So let's start with the first thing you see. In most games, the tutorial starts when you press new game. But in this game, you learn about the main game ability at the start menu, blinking between two worlds. You can think about it how in Titanfall 2, you can travel between times. The game quickly teaches you what this does in the start menu. When you're in our world, it's peaceful, and when you go into the other world, you see enemies behind you. They do the same thing but a million times better as soon as you start the game. When you can see the question mark, most people will go there. If you do, you'll see how to move, attack, and close your eyes. Hence the name. Even if you don't go there, you can't hold your eyes open forever. You'll start seeing red as if your eyes are getting dry, and then it happens. You close your eyes automatically, and metal music starts as you can see how the world changed around you. But there is a problem with this automatic system, but that's not really important right now. More importantly, the music. The music is perfect for this game. The only problem I found with it is that it's a little bit too obvious when they change track. As the music only plays when you're in the other world, you have to listen to the outro, awkward silence, and then back to the intro. This is only a minor annoyance, so I can't really say that it destroys the gaming experience. But it could be something to note for the later games. But if we go back to the actual music now, this could have easily been something that you'll hear at your biker father's house. Even I listened to it while making this video. But if we now go to the next part of the presentation, the graphics. The game does a good enough job on this. As this game was made by one person, I really can't complain. The main character does a good enough job on binding our world with the other world. It does look a little bit more at home in the other world, but it looks fairly okay in our world too. Alan isn't the designer of Sora from Kingdom Hearts after all. Now let's get into the more important part of the game, at least to the most people that I know of. There's an upgrade system where you can buy various upgrades such as damage, health and stamina. There's also a few abilities that you can buy: spin attack, throw axe and 100% crit chance for both fist and axe. I have no problem with the idea of this system. The problem I have with this is that it doesn't pause the game. So if you're trying to think about what you will buy, your eyes might automatically close and the enemies will hit you. The game pauses when you press escape. So why can't it pause here? The combat feels okay, I guess. I'm kind of on the fence with this one. It does what it's supposed to do, but doesn't feel like the enemies are made for this kind of combat. Most times you get hit, even though you started the attack very far away and kill them with one hit. There is a small soft point where you can hit them and they don't hit you, but it's very small. It doesn't really matter if you kill them with one hit. Most times you will still get hit. I found that the best way to not get hit was to position yourself so that you can attack sideways.
or start the spin attack and then go into the other world. Most times you will still get hit here, but at least you can kill them before they can kill you. There are many ways to fix this. One way could have been to remake the combat system, or just make the enemies slower, I guess. Speaking of slower, the enemies aren't. For some reason, the enemies are faster than you. Right now, there's only one way to be quicker than the enemies. Can you guess what it is? I'll give you 5 seconds to think about this. Time's up. If you thought sprinting, you're wrong. The obvious choice here was attacking. That's the only time you're faster than the enemies. But I do understand why the enemies are so fast. As the map is really huge, it takes a long time to get from one side to the other side. It takes about 1 minute. I know what you're thinking. But that's not very big. And that brings me to the next point. There's way too few enemies in the beginning. You actually have to look for the enemies. That includes running around the map for a few minutes with nothing to do, and for some reason they're just walking around sometimes. Well, at least the first wave. This is the reason why the enemies are so fast. They need to catch up with you, otherwise you could run in circles forever. This is only a problem the first few rounds. After a while, there will be so many enemies that you'll always have a few enemies to fight. But that's not the only reason to run around the entire map. At the start of every wave, except the first wave, a few fire orbs that will give you experience spawn at a few specific spots. Which of these spots that it spawns on is random. Nothing wrong with this, but if you kill the last enemy of the wave, the orbs disappear. And trust me, you need them. So at the start of every round, you run around the entire map trying to find the orbs, while trying not to kill the last enemy. This was a big problem for me. One solution is to make the map smaller. Now you might be thinking, but the orbs is a reward for finding them. Alright, I understand that. One other solution would be to make the enemies teleport to you if you get too far away. Alright, let me show you. Oh, I don't have a map. Give me a second. Alright, I'm done. You just drew the most amazing map. I will show you in 3, 2, 1. As you can see here, it's very detailed. Alright, but back to the subject now. Think about it as if the player is up by the tunnel, okay? And then the enemy spawns at his spawn point at the corner here. As this happens, the player walks through the tunnel to where you start the game. Why can't the enemy just despawn from here and continue to spawn here? What is right now happening is that it has to walk all the way through the tunnel, and you might have already moved somewhere else by then. To make sure that the player is not overwhelmed by too many enemies, there could be a simple enemy count that counts how many enemies that are right now in the field, so it doesn't spawn new enemies over this number. I don't know if that maybe already is implemented, and if that's the case, this would have been even easier to implement. While we have the map up, we might as well talk about one more thing. The enemies usually group up on you when you're in the normal world. What this leads to is that you will get damaged as soon as you go into the other world. This isn't really good, and like I told you before, the best thing to do is just to start the spin attack, then go into the other world and kill everyone, and then just get out again. One fix to this is that you can just make so that enemies doesn't go close to you when you're in the normal world. This will still give you the oh shit moment that you will get with a lot of enemies around you, but you will not get hurt and you might actually have a chance to survive. I will show this. This is how it looks right now. The player is walking to wherever he's going, and then he goes into the other world. He will immediately get attacked by a lot of enemies and maybe even die. And here's how it would look with the fix that I just talked about. Like before, the player is going to wherever he wants, and then he goes into the other world. As you can see, there's a distance between him and the enemies. This way, he will not get attacked as soon as he goes into the other world. He will not be as scared to go in there,
and it will not result in any unfair deaths. With this system, you wouldn't have to worry about how fast the enemies are either, because you would know that as soon as you go out in the normal world, you're safe. Now let's get into the last segment before we get to a conclusion.
Now what is the goal in this game? I'm serious. Try to figure it out with just the things I've said. You probably guessed that there is no goal, just to survive longer. The goal is actually a little hidden. Well, it's hidden in plain sight. You might have been thinking, what is that giant enemy? And that is the boss. The boss is fairly simple to kill. It's just a quick time event. To kill the boss, you need to do a set amount of damage, otherwise you will die. Again, again, and again. After a while, I could pinpoint that the boss health was something between 600 and 1200. After some thinking, I found the best way to find out how much health the boss has. I contacted the developer on Twitter. The boss has 1000 health. Yup. That's simple. Honestly, it was fun in the beginning to guess how much health he had, but it got old really fast, especially as I had to sometimes play for 30 minutes or longer just to die. A simple hint would be fine, just put it in the story like the 1000 health boss came after him. Okay, maybe not like that, but you get the idea. When you get a few waves into the game, it's amazing. But before that, it's almost like a chore. It's fun the first few times, but after that, you realize that the map is way too big for the amount of enemies. As this was made by one guy, I won't be too nitpicky about the game. For example, the variety of enemies. This was Indie Omega's first released game that I know of, and honestly, it looks way better than my first and only released game. I will leave a link for Neverblink in the description if you want to try out this really cool game. Thank you for watching. Please give it a like and let me know what you think down below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It hasn't been hit on for a while.